This is my number one favorite album of all time. The number one, debased, the SS triple S tier, is good, is nice, is Saturday Night Wrist by Deftones. Formed in 1988, Deftones are seen as one of the main pioneers of the genre of nu metal, along with band Korn. Their style has always been quite wildly shifting, and they pretty much almost entirely abandoned the nu metal sound around their third album, that being White Pony. But what they've gone on to make and become has defined modern metal to such a degree. I mean, you've seen all those TikTok baddies and all that, a lot of modern metal or just modern shoegaze adjacent rock today. They owe a lot of their influences to Deftones, as do I myself. Deftones has always been such a major part of my music taste for pretty much as long as I can remember. I discovered them probably around about 2016 or so, and have just been a major fan ever since. And everybody has their own favourite album of theirs. Some people like the fast, raw and ready sound of their debut Adrenaline. Some people like the more straightforward, purely nu metal sound of their second album, Around the Fur. Some people like their, arguably what's called their magnum opus, the experimental rock White Pony, released in 2000. However, for me, the sound that Deftones pioneered and continued to make for years and years now, for me they perfected on this album in particular, Saturday Night Wrist. Now, the whole sort of production side of this album was pretty tumultuous for the band, and I think arguably nearly broke it up. All the band were dealing with drug issues, and lead vocalist Tuna Moreno was dealing with a crumbling marriage as well, which can be heard on certain songs within the album. But overall, what came out of that produced an amazing album that just perfectly encapsulates everything I love about Deftones' sound. It's just like the purest package of just nice and good. And yes, their unique blend of shoegaze and alternative metal has been sort of overplayed in like the modern metal scene, but that just shows how much of a significant influence the band has had on so many musicians and bands of the modern era. And this album for me encapsulates, for me, the best of their sounds. This was kind of a turning point of the band. This is the last one to feature bassist Chi Cheng before his unfortunate car accident in 2008 that led to him being led to his eventual death a few years later in 2013. But just the musicianship and composition on this album I hold it very dear. I hold very dear to my heart, and this is truly just like it stood the test of time, at least in my personal music taste, as the number one out of my top 10 albums of all time. Genuinely, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings on this album. The band itself, I'm pretty sure I'm not a fan of this because of the difficult things surrounding it, and I know some people prefer different albums of theirs, but this album is very special to me. What I feel is that the kind of the technicality of a lot of the band's performances, I think, really came to a head on this album. They've always had an experimental edge to them, of course, but a lot of the time, instrumentally, they've kind of been, at times, simplistic parts with like little hints of complexity here and there that come together to more of the sum of their parts. For me, they really get that down to a fine art on this album, and because admittedly, at times, some of their stuff does tend to come across as a little bit simplistic in places, which, while in the overall composition of the song, it works well. I mean, I think a lot of us have seen that one video of Steph demoing that guitar. Chug, 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 chug. Nothing else. But this really sort of encapsulates that shoegazy but equally heavy and dynamic sound that I love from them. And this is one hell of a dynamic album. You can go from super soft to super heavy like that. This is also especially around the time when Steph started tuning really low on guitars. I'm pretty sure this is like F sharp, so we're still using 7 strings, but like down to 8 string level. Yeah, it's got some heavy chug chug chug. Nice. Yes. So starting out with track 1, Hole in the Earth. This one, lyrically, you can really tell the clashes that are happening in the band and the tensions that are rising. To the point the lyrics are a little explicit as well. It's they're a little bit in your face, but if you weren't aware of, I guess, what was going on in the band at the time, then it would fit in with any of the other stuff. But the line "I hate all of my friends" is pretty on the nose. But instrumentally, this song just builds and builds with the layers and hits immediately with a pretty simplistic riff. Again, that's what Deftones are so good at, is just taking simplistic riffs and using them to build out into larger, more complex pieces and that kind of stuff, and it's just that simplicity that just helps it hit so much harder. So going from like the dynamics of the sort of heavy intro going into the more softer verses and then soaring choruses, and that just is really it's so good. And let me tell you, just the outro where it's just that guitar doing those high, like, arpeggiated chord things as it fades out, one of the most beautiful moments. They're so good at just these little moments, that just really small parts that you just want to listen to, want to loop over and over again. Like this, along with probably the outro to Beauty School off of Diamond Eyes, is just sonic moments I could live in forever. Then shifting the dynamics a bit more into sort of straightforward heaviness with track 2, Rapture. So this one kind of is more straightforwardly angry and really shows the Steph's guitar work in probably some of his best work in creating just these chaotic, dissonant riffs as well, which of course it's not, like super hyper technical here and there, but he is very good at taking simplistic things and making them fit within these larger compositions that hit harder. The song's got kind of this sort of stop-start vibe to it with the guitars and these odd times that are going on with it. It kind of feels like it's really like jolting you around and tearing you at all ends and jumping between sort of like the moments of quieter stuff that just then hits you around the face with the heaviness again. It just, good. It's a chaotic good time of a song. But moving on to track 3, to probably my favourite song on the album. Let's say that, probably no. Second favourite song on the album, Beware. A longer track at 6 minutes. This is, again, like I said, out of all of... This song just takes what I love about Deftones' sound and distills it into just its finest components and just makes a damn near perfect song out of it. Again, it's very simplistic in a way, but just the way that they use layers to build up on one another takes it to just a whole. It just builds it up and gives these just soaring, hard-hitting choruses that then leads to just this absolutely chaotic, apocalyptic sounding breakdown in the last half of the song. It's just, it's so good. Genuinely, if you haven't heard this song, give it a listen. It's so good. As well, the simplistic side of it as well. The chord progression is just going between 2 chords, C and E flat, pretty much. But the way they sort of build on that, again with the different layers, one guitar is doing simplistic things, the bass is doing its own thing, and then there's keys as well. And as the build-up, literally the keys are just going between 2 notes, of just like, just like the Jaws theme, like, the semitone apart and that kind of stuff. And it's, again, it's so simplistic to an almost, it may seem almost like juvenile in a way. It seems so simplistic, but it works so well that just, it's one of those instances of just like how, like, why didn't I think of that? It's just so wonderfully simplistic and just works so well. But there is, complexity in that as well, with Chino's vocals soaring over the chorus and singing sort of upper extensions. So, like, if you allow me to go into my music theory mode for a moment, upper extensions are basically notes that sort of go beyond the chord, that are sort of notes not included in like your normal like major or minor triads, that kind of stuff. So like your 9th, 11th, or like major or minor 7th. It's the jazzy notes you add on to make it sound more colourful, while the rest of the band is usually really just playing like power chords as well, so really simplistic chords. And then he sings these really colourful notes on top that he's just so amazingly good at doing. It's just the final note in the chorus that he hits before it then goes back into the verses. I'm pretty sure that's a major 7, I think he's singing over there, but it's just the vibes, immaculentus. And then their best song, Don't At Me, Cherry Waves. This is beautiful of a song. It's got such sorrowful, dark lyrics. This believes it to be sort of centering around, again, Chino's failing marriage and feeling it sort of slipping away. But my god, just the music of this is amazing. It was one of my favourite songs, all like just full stop, period. It was just, if there's just one thing I can describe what Deftones does so well, it's just the vibes. This track is just pure vibes, pure just emotional, take yourself away to a different world vibes, and again, combining that shoegaziness, the distant drums in the verses, the distinctly moving bass line beneath it all, along with the dissonant notes that kind of come from that more sort of trip-hop style sounds that Frank Delgado, the keyboardist and turntablist, is so good at, and then just takes it into this chorus that is just, even when I first heard this song for the first time, you just, I don't know how words work. This song somehow managed to feel nostalgic on the first time I ever heard it. Again, just the vibes of it. It just takes you to somewhere soft, warm, beautiful, but also deeply melancholic and, you know, mourning the loss of something. It's that distinctly kind of like wistfulness of nostalgia, that just reminiscing about a good time past, and that was the first time listening to this song, so I wasn't nostalgic for the song itself, but they just were able to distill that sound into that. And again, it's just two chords. It's just like D and F just going back and forth, and that's it. And no, sorry, B and D, sorry, get it right. It's just between B and D, just those power chords, just back and forth. And again, we're like Chino singing over it with the, it kind of starts off with like, yeah, that kind of trill between the major 7th and the 9th of the D chord. So going between those two, so kind of turning it into a D major 9. Yes, I'm a massive nerd. I was bullied mercilessly at school, but it's just such a beautiful song. No, to call it beautiful doesn't even come close to it. It is an absolute... Words fail me, as they often do. It's a gorgeous song, and if and when I do ever get married, that's the song I'm walking my beloved down the aisle to. It's just... Well, no. It's a song about Chino losing his wife. That's probably not a good... I didn't think about that, as you could scratch that. The next track, track 5, Mine, or Mien, or I'm assuming it's Mine, it's like the German Mai. This album just does not miss thus far. We'll get to later bits in a minute. So this really kind of goes for a more sort of faster pace, but still going for that dreaminess with really odd non-diatonic harmony, and that really shows Steph Carpenter. I mean, I'm pretty sure he doesn't know much of his music theory, but he's definitely experimenting with a lot of really interesting and odd chords here. That it's weird sounding, but it works so well. And the constantly fast-moving bass drums of Abe Cunningham really just drives this song forward, and it's, again, that vibe of just like, you know, it's a good driving song as well. It's a song that you can feel that you can just sort of put on as you're driving along, but again, with weird harmony and melodic choices that just sort of separate it off and make it feel a little bit odd and uncanny, but still not weird enough to be like too off-putting or anything. It's enough to keep it interesting. And of course, how can I talk about this song without mentioning the out-of-nowhere feature of Serj Tankian from System of a Down? Like, you just listen to this song vibing away, and then suddenly this voice comes in, and he's just like, "That's Serj? That's Serj! Oh my god!" And it just like caps off just this little like cherry on the top of an amazing song, of an amazing album. And of course, I had to give him such a System of a Down sounding lyric to sing of like the universe breaking us down. It's like, I can imagine that being on like a System of a Down song, definitely. Then following that, we have the Konami Code song, which is, I mean, it's literally just the Konami Code of up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, select, start. I didn't just read it off my screen, I definitely didn't. I did it off by memory. This is an instrumental track, a bit of an interlude. A lot of people, this is part of like where people have the issues with the album, is that there's a bit of like odd filler bits in here, but honestly I really like this album, and it just sort of, this this song. I really like this song. It is going on absolutely pure vibes, just purely instrumental, and it's a song that you could just like lay back and enjoy it. It's like, yeah, some people may find it forgettable, but for me it just adds to the flow of the album and just shows their skills at, you know, evoking their more their chill side and more sort of like groove based stuff. It's a good song, it doesn't need too much to be spoken about it, because of course it is just a little instrumental interlude track, but it is, I enjoy it. If you don't, then don't listen to it, you know. But then Xerxes. Moving on to the chill stuff, this is probably their most, I'd say, space rock styled one. Whenever I listen to this song, I'm always like picturing just sort of like floating off in like space, in like some big spaceship or whatever. That's the vibes of this song. And again, it's just, it's such a beautiful, amazing song, and moving more into the like shoegazy chill side of things, but again with just these like amazingly powerful choruses that you can just, again, just make me want to just drift off to wherever. So good. And not to mention that the outro is yet another moment of just a sonic moment I just want to live in forever. They're just like vamping on this chord progression, and Chino's singing the "I'll be waving goodbye" moment. That's just, it's such an amazingly beautiful thing. And you know, it's sort of like good simplistic elements here and there, but just like with everything else, they build the layers up to just make it this all-encompassing warm hug of sonic experience that I just loved so much. But then shifting gears dramatically to Rats, 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 probably one of their heaviest songs they've ever done. Just Chino's vocal performance, like when he goes in for like the scream stuff, it's a wonder how he still has functioning vocal cords, because it's just shredding his voice, some of this stuff. Like I'm following, like it was like inhale screams at that point. It sounds inhuman, and the just extremely fast-paced, dissonant, shifting time signature guitar riffs, and Steph really utilizing that low F sharp tuning on the guitar, just, it's thunderous. And even when it sort of breaks out into these more, you know, melodic soaring choruses, it then just hits back with these just absolutely searing rage of heaviness, dissonance, noise, screaming, and not to mention that just chugging breakdown at the bridge section. It's just, oh.
Suit you, sir. Suit you, sir. Oh, suit you, sir.
The longest time I really just could not work out the time signature, because it just seems to change up every like couple seconds. I think I remember like some online tab listed it as like flicking between like 21:16 and 15:16, and like these really like weird odd time signatures. It probably isn't. And again, just like the dynamics of this album, it just goes from like light to heavy to light to heavy, back and forth, and just never lets up, and just, it's just vibes, just vibes. Vibes all the way. Then we move on to Pink Cell Phone. This is the song that people have the most gripes with, being that it has this odd monologue at the end that insults British people, so yeah, screw you guys. I don't hate this song, but it is, if it does come on, it's more or less and likely a skip, because it's not the kind of thing I'm a little bit of a misstep. So, while I do say this is a 10 out of 10 favourite album for me, this song is a skip. Well, I guess that wouldn't make the album a 10 out of 10. It's a 9.9 out of 10, I'll give it that. It would be a 10 out of 10 if maybe they just replaced Pink Cell Phone with, you know, something else. But even then, it's not offensively bad like some people say, at least in my opinion. It's perfectly passable. But the last three tracks, Combat, Kim Dracula, and Riviere, these all kind of blend into like one big suite for me in my head. Like they kind of almost act as one big song in a way. Maybe that's just my prog brain talking, but this is really sort of taking the dynamics of their sound and pushing it in all sorts of directions. The heaviness, the chill side, the dreaminess, the shoegaziness, the aggression, the melancholy, the sadness, the all of the yes. Just having those three tracks just like caps off the album just so well. There is also the hidden track, or the bonus track, which is the cover of the Cars track, Drive, which is, you know, interesting in its own right, but I won't be talking about that too much. But yeah, overall, this album I feel does get underappreciated. I feel the Deftones fans tend to look over it quite a bit, I feel, especially in regards to, I think probably, White Pony and like the other early stuff's the big ones. Some people like the self-titled, some people like Diamond Eyes, Koi no Yokan, and even Ohms, the most recent one, is a stellar album in their later career. But I do feel this one kind of gets overlooked a little bit, which I feel is odd, because it just feels like such a just a perfect encapsulation of their sound, and I mean everything I love about their sound. But hey, to each their own. For me, this will always be my #1 album, or at least in my top 5. It's such a pivotal moment in my music taste and a lot of my influences. In fact, the song Beware I did kind of rip off into one of the earliest songs I ever wrote for myself. But we'll get onto that next month when I talk about Sunbleach. The track Blue Eyes and the Devil was kind of me trying to do that song as well, which is funny, but it just showed me that you can take such simplistic elements and guitar riffs and you layer them together into something far greater than some of its parts. I spent years trying to chase after the vibe this album gave me and to just try and copy it basically, unashamedly. And I've shifted past that point and tried to, do stuff actually on my own. Still, this is just an amazing album. I'm running out of words to say. Fun fact, I actually was meant to do this video last month, but I got this one mixed up with Black Gives Way to Blue, and I accidentally did that one last month instead of this one. So this one's done now, so yeah. But anyway, I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have a lovely day, and a lovely week, and a lovely night, and a lovely whatever, and I'll see you later.